Hey, everyone. I hope everybody's having a cool and comforting evening here, especially those of you here in the Northeast area. Very cold out. We've gotten a lot of snow, very cold temperatures. I hope you're all keeping warm. Uh, as you can see, I'm here home, and it's Being Humble with Jason Rumble, and soon available on Spotify and iTunes. Be on the lookout. And as you saw, I had a post up, and I quite possibly could be interviewing the legendary member of the Hart family, the very controversial, as some people would like to say, Teddy Hart. I'm hoping I get to interview Teddy this evening. You know, I'm going to give it around 5 minutes for him to enter the studio. I have a backup guest that is waiting in the wings, so to speak. And yeah, I stand behind my friends. Allegations are allegations, and I've had people stand behind me in the past, present, and/or future. And you know, regardless or not, the interview will be interesting. Some great stories. The man who helped start Society X. Uh, you know, if not, like I said, I'll give it around 5 minutes. We're at about the 2.5 minute mark. I'm texting him now, letting him know, yo, brother, I'm live. Click the invite. Meanwhile, you probably got people out there that are like, how the hell does he know Teddy Hart? Teddy Hart happens to be a very close friend of mine. Teddy and I had 3 spectacular matches. And I'm probably one of the only people that Teddy Hart has legitimately put over in the ring ever. So he has seen my message. We are hoping for the legendary Teddy Hart to enter the studio. Anybody have any questions? Anything they'd like me to ask? If and when this interview is to happen. I'm hoping that he pops up at any time now. I see that we got a few live ones in the building. So we got a few live ones in the So as we sit patiently, I'll give them a little longer than the 5 minute point. For those of you out there, let's talk wrestling. Anybody got a question up there? Maybe a subject we can talk for the first couple of minutes until somebody pops up into the studio. I might have to pull my surprise guest in, and then if Teddy pops in, I might have to remove my surprise guest. Yep, nobody wanting to ask a question. Mike, you're funny. He's just him being him, brother. Just him being him. You can't blame him. And realistically, I mean, as much as people don't respect the dirt sheets, I will send you another invite. So the way I look at it, as some of the dirt sheets, they're spot on. You know, as much as we do know people, do I believe like people on the inside would lie to me if I was asking them a mock style question that quite possibly that they know I do a show and it could get them in trouble? Would they steer me in the wrong direction? I could believe that, you know, because them giving vital information could cost them their job. So sometimes our best sources could honestly be derivating us from the legit truth. So we'll discuss this in topic. If it's the so yeah, we'll talk on the Shawn Michaels, the whole NXT proverbial stuff on Friday night. We're going live Friday night, not Saturday night. And we'll get into discussing that of the who really is in charge and what's going on and what it means by in charge and that or the other. All right, I am going to try this one more time. I apologize to everybody out there. All right, so Teddy's having trouble signing in through Messenger. So I sent him a direct link through email. If this doesn't work, I will bring on my surprise guest, and we'll do a little interview. We'll get this interview segment started. You know, so let's hope this works. Keeping our fingers crossed. But we'll give it a couple of minutes here. It's a good thing with the technology nowadays. You can edit all this stuff out. So when the interview does go to Spotify, it won't get any of this mumbo jumbo at the beginning, which is a good thing. I'd like to clear the air then until Teddy gets in here. Yesterday, my rant about Source. Yeah, I can see how people would think that I was mad. And to a certain extent, it wasn't being mad. It's when you say source, it's got to be a source. It's got to be a for real. That's all I'm saying. Everybody out here, including myself, we post dirt sheet mark sites that put the information and topics that we talk about. But when we write something ourselves and we put my source says, not myself, not anybody on here has direct contact with the WWE headquarters or AEW headquarters. Okay? So to say you have a legit source, you wouldn't be on this site. You'd be working for Dave Meltzer. You'd be working for Dirt Sheet Radio because you'd be a legit person of interest that people could utilize your word. And that's all. I love James Forbes. I've known of him since a guy named George Laws moved into my neighborhood. So I've known him for a long time. I've had the privilege of working with him. So, yeah, we'll just end it at that. And you just want a little bit of legitimacy to a certain extent. That's all. Wrestling's fake. I get that. Or predetermined. Because there's nothing fake about taking the bumps and bruises and about the performance of the art. So, with that being said, I just want things to be a little bit more legitimized. When I invite friends to join the group that have been to way higher aspirations of the professional wrestling world as me, as Mike would best bet it, any clown that's going to put source and then you look at who this person is, you're going to be like, how does this guy know exact words or exact things? And that could be anybody. Nobody got a real source. And I will say it again. If I had a real source backstage that could tell me, oh, what was the thinking behind Brock Lesnar going over at the, and they told me privied inside information. And then I'm on here sharing it with 127 knuckleheads and whomever is rewatches it on Twitch and or YouTube. And we got him live and in living color. My brother from another mother. I told you I'd deliver. Teddy Hart. Teddy, how the hell are you, brother?
I'm doing good, brother. Thank you so much for having me. So I had a lot of trouble connecting to that shit, so.
It's all right, bro. It's all right.
Not a big technology guy. I'm surprised I was able to get on there.
Oh, this is excellent, man. So I got to ask, what you been up to?
Just working out and training hard, and I got the ankle monitor off 2 weeks ago. So that was a fucking miracle. That's 2 years. I haven't had a fucking bath in 2 years. I shower, obviously, every day. I'm not that greasy, but it was nice to go. I went to the jacuzzi and went to the steam room. You can't really get the thing too wet either. You can shower, but you got to be careful. If you get moisture in the device, you got to take a fucking 45-minute drive or an $80 Uber down there, get it reconnected, and it goes back on. If you don't get down there within 3 hours or 5 hours, it's an automatic violation, and you got to go back to jail. I mean, I've been in and out of it because of the ankle monitor problem, and then you have some asshole like Hannibal that reports Teddy Hart's back in jail for something, and it's like they don't know what it is, and it's never been new charges. It's a charge from 5 years ago that I was dealing with, and then I got caught with some weed in Virginia, and I have a medical card for Pennsylvania and for Florida and for California, but I don't have one for Virginia because there isn't one. So they had to give me the whole 6 months there, and since I had cash on me, they gave me a distribution charge, and then they dropped everything because they figured it out. But you're guilty until proven innocent in these states. They don't give a shit. They just want the money, and you're locked up during COVID, which is jail's terrible place no matter what. But during COVID, it's 24-hour lockdown for the first 15 days, then 23-hour lockdown for a lot of the rest of your time, if depending on what pod you're in. And it's been like 5 or 6 months of that type of shit out of a year and a half, plus a 24-hour house arrest in Virginia for 8 months because there's no bonds there. So you can't put up a bond and get out. They'll just release you. But you get an ankle monitor and they know where you are. You got to call them and ask permission to take your garbage past the line because you beep if you cross the line, and they have like a perimeter set up.
Oh,
and
wow.
If you do that, you go back to jail. It's a violation. So it's been a blessing that it's finished. And I'm working on a few projects now. I was in Los Angeles last night I got back this morning, but was in Los Angeles for 3 days or 4 days working on a documentary, and had a show. I met Alberto Del Rio again, and we're pretty good friends. And it was nice to hear that he got that stuff handled with his stuff, because people love to blow shit out of proportion. And when you're down, they kick you in the fucking teeth and they stab you in the back. And when you're up, they're blowing smoke up your ass and trying to jump on your fan page or jump on your train. And, that's just human nature, I guess. It's disappointing that people are like that, especially wrestling fans.
Yeah.
Wrestlers in general, I think it seems like a business that has a lot of really cool people, but there's also that for some reason a lot of cowardly, shit disturbing, backstabbing, people that they thrive on trying to cause headaches for people, and they love to watch misery, and I guess misery loves company.
Exactly, my brother. Bitches get stitches. Bitches get stitches.
Yeah. That's a lovely picture behind you, Muhammad Ali. I was looking at pictures of my father with Muhammad. My grandpa and Muhammad Ali were really good friends back in the day.
Oh, man. So, Society X, talk a little bit about that for my fan base. That's a huge thing, and the talking that we like when the group administrator first started this thing a few years back. That was definitely one of the things, a missing subject and a missing piece of wrestling history that people really loved and were ultimately disappointed when it like disappeared. I'm gonna say I was one of them, man. Obviously because I'm in the business, and I would have loved to have gotten my chance to do it. Can you give me a little background on the start and maybe some of the trials and tribulations on why it ended?
As far as I know, there was a bunch of rappers that were going to come on as guest stars or potential hosts. I had a few guys potentially lined up. We knew an agent that was dealing with Eminem's guys and Jimmy Iovine's crew of people that were working under Interscope, which would have been Eminem, 50 Cent, I think Obi Trice, Bizarre, and maybe I think there was one other, maybe Lloyd Banks. I think there was a few. So that was a potential to have those guys come on and be guests of that show, but it fell through, and that I think hurt the opportunity. Neville was supposed to be there also. That didn't happen. I think that also hurt. I mean, he's like one of the best wrestlers ever, and at that time he was, he's still so unbelievable, but at that time he was young and really no one had heard of him or seen him much except for in England. And M-Dog 20 is great, but he's not the he would have been a nice guy to have on there too, and he was very valuable as a tag team partner, but it was supposed to be me and Neville, and that would have been awesome. And then I think Vampiro and X-Pac and those guys They were supposed to have an hour show. It was cut to a half an hour, and that hurt the thing. The editing hurt the show because they had to speed a lot of things up and cut out a lot of stuff. So it looked like the matches didn't have the psychology that they actually had because of the way they cut it. And I think Vince put a kibosh on it too because of the threat it had. I think it was a threat because the first 2 weeks it beat ECW in the ratings.
Yeah.
And then a few executives from MTV, I guess, got hired somewhere else or something happened. And then it seemed like the whole show fell through. And I don't know exactly why that happens or how that works. I didn't know. I thought it was a great show, had a ton of potential, a lot of really good looking guys and great talent and a cool idea. But they cut some corners on a few things. Kevin Kleinrock had said that they had some issues with certain things. And I think not having a real crowd in there and having like 40 people, and they could have had probably like a Lucha Underground style audience, even if they were bringing them as extras or whatever it would have been. It's in LA, in Hollywood. You know, cool. We were able to smoke there. Everyone of the dispensaries were still open, and you know, everyone had their weed and their video games, and it was that type of environment. And weed and video games is a great environment for guys to wrestle in instead of, you know, fucking painkillers, coke, and fucking booze and hookers and shit, and which fucking distracts the boys and fucks up the chi energy of a bunch of guys going in and risking their lives and trying to do a dance and make it work, and you know, having good timing. And if guys are fucked up and worn out or old, or their drug habits fucking cause them to not have creativity or a work ethic, which is something I think those guys had a great work ethic in Wrestling Society X. And the fact it was on MTV, I thought it had all the makings of being a great show, and it was a huge kick in the ass. And you know, it was a big blow to me that it didn't happen. I really risked my life on that show and tried to do a lot of stunts, and they gave me the green light on everything. I was their big star. They built the show around me, which was awesome of them to know that they could put that weight on my shoulders and that I would be able to do all that stuff. And at least it gave me a video platform that, you know, move for move, you know, risk for risk. I don't think there's too many guys that did that in 2 days. We filmed all that in 2 days. So it wasn't like I got to wrestle the next week. All that 3 days or 2 days, all the stunts, all the matches, everything we did. Come back out, slick your hair up again, put some more oil on it, come out like it's the next week. It's another episode. But I mean, it's all that same 2 days or 3 days. Just take it out of the body, you know?
Yeah.
At that stage, I was in really good shape and I was very versatile and I had a strong mind. And I wish I could go back to that type of distance now. But it's all about motivation, perspective, and timing. So I'm working out slowly. I'm a little older and I get sore more now. I just had a match and I felt like I carried a fucking 1,000,000 pounds up a mountain. My back's sore, my legs are stiff, my neck hurts. I'm like, I didn't do shit. It was so I think that comes, you get that layer of armor on you after a few matches. You know what I mean? You get built. It starts to, your body becomes more used to it. And I just have to get back to the ring and start practicing my stuff and combos and different offense. And I have a new group called the Real Heart Foundation. Guys that I think are hardworking young guys that want to come up, and they're guys I handpicked for this group. And we're hoping to get some more. I'm really not looking for bookings much, dude. I have a few companies I'll work for, and I'm not here to beat up my body right now. I have a few opportunities that may come up. My own show that I'm working on in Canada, and a new school in Florida, and a gym my friend owns, and some martial arts classes, and some boxing and stuff like that I'm working on. I'd love to have a pro fight in boxing. I boxed for years, and my hands are still pretty fast, and I would, be willing to take a shot. And if I got knocked out, then you know what? It's better than getting knocked out in the bar for wearing a flashy pair of pajamas or something happened. I've kept all my teeth in my mouth over all these years of being in and out of jail and being in and out of the streets and bars and strip clubs and carrying around a Persian cat and wearing a $10,000 pair of pajamas. So I'm still smiling. I got all my teeth, and I'm happy to be able to get back on the horse and work to get my comeback. It's like the third comeback. I hate to sound like Rocky, but I mean, I think Rocky had like 3 or 4 comebacks in his movies. So
hell yeah,
far off the script. And I was in Philadelphia for a few years down there, and I went to the statue and said a prayer. And I thought Sylvester Stallone was a great role model, and his message carries on to this day with me. I just watched the Mike Tyson documentary of all the shit he went through, and still here now, successful and smart, and very funny, and smoking weed and loving life. And it's like if I can if I can get a couple guys like that to get on board with my comeback because they're friends of the family or through through Owen Hart's connections or Brett's
Yeah.
connections or guys that knew my grandfather. And so I was just in a ring with Jacob Fatu, and the Samoan family's always been really good. I had Rikishi and the Tonga kid in Las Vegas, and they were drinking champagne and bottles of Hennessy, and Jacob Fatu ring with us doing backflips off the top or at 300 pounds and exhibiting what kind of athlete he really was. And then we were working in MLW together, and he's the champion there for a long time. And it was really nice to see him. And he didn't know the booking. A lot of guys push up booking with Teddy Hart. They can't come or they got COVID or something. He came up, and we had a 6-man tag match, and he was beautiful to work with. And it just was reminiscing with some of the stuff. Some of the families that have been involved in wrestling. I got a call from Van yesterday out of the blue, just remembering. He said, I was in Calgary doing a show, and I was wondering around and what you were doing. I wanted to say to you, and here's my number if you want to come visit in Maine. I'm in Boston area or whatever. Come down and visit. I said, oh man, I said my buddy Jason's down there. And I was thinking of talking to you anyway, which is really fucking weird how the Matrix works or whatever. So. But I'm alive and healthy, and life is good. I have a few months of probation left. I got it reinstated. I didn't get any extra time, which was cool. And I've got my clothing line going. I'm working on them. I think about 17 new outfits that are pretty unbelievable. I'll say revolutionary type of clothes and tracksuits that no one's ever seen before. So that it's nice to get. When I left Virginia, they took my Maserati, they took my cats, all my property was seized. They never got most of it back. It was lost because of the COVID. They shut down all the shit. And when I got my stuff back, almost all my stuff was gone that was taken out of the car. And I was on a road trip traveling. So everything I had in my suitcase, my bag, I missed it. It took me a year and a half to get the $5,000 that I was caught with there in my pocket back in my hands after, because they realized it wasn't distribution. I had to prove to them where the money came from. Bank statement and everything I could do so my lawyer could clearly show the judge this is money he makes from a wrestling school or from a booking or selling shirts, and that's why he has cash on him, because he's traveling city to city to city, and I have a Canadian credit card. So I mean, all these things were having to be proven in court with a lawyer, and they did it all, and so that everything was cleared. And so then Texas wants their chunk of your skin. So after that, you got to thank God they didn't drive me this time. Last time I had a violation in Pennsylvania, they drove me all the way back to Texas in the back of a and it was 12 days, ankles shackled at the ankles and the wrists with a little slot. They just throw you the food back there. You piss in a bottle if you can manage to get a bottle and put your dick around a bottle while you're holding fucking your handcuffs. And they stop every 12 hours at a different jail. You got to get a TB shot every time you stop in a different jail. They give you a fucking TB shot and tuberculosis or whatever it is to see if you have it. And the next jail is the same thing. And I went to the same city 4 times, drive around in circles before they finally brought me down to Texas. So this time they picked me up in an airplane, and I got escorted through the airport in handcuffs and a jacket with federal. They stopped at McDonald's for me because they were wrestling fans. So they got me McDonald's, and they let me order 2 combos instead of 1 because you got a $6 medium. And that, and the guy let me smoke a puff of his vape pen. Fucking. So it wasn't just a fucking tobacco vape pen, but it was nice that the fucking U.S. Marshal decided he wanted to share the same vape pen as me, and to a criminal, my lips to his lips or whatever.
So, do you have you heard the news about the lawsuit between MLW and WWE?
No, I haven't.
Okay, so it came out in the past couple of days. MLW, in a nutshell, is suing the WWE for being a monopoly.
Really?
Yes, because they're trying to accuse Vince of going to Vice TV and a few other places and putting the kibosh to what they were doing.
Really?
And it's been going on for a while. And they feel that Vince has been doing it to other companies, going to media, to media people he knows. So it destroys the fact of those people getting wrestling products on television.
Fuck.
So yeah, if you get a chance later and you want a good read, it's online. and just hit Google MLW lawsuit against WWE. I couldn't. Yeah.
That's very interesting. I wonder how they'll do.
I, Evidently the lawyer's name is long. Whoever they got their lawyer is, and them long Jewish names that you tend to be good. But shit, you're talking Vince's lawyers.
Yeah, and the networking and power of people that are in political, parties. Even though Trump's not a president, I'm sure Vince and those guys still have a
Oh
lot of,
yeah.
and NBC and Fox don't feel like getting cross contaminated with him losing something. Or I don't know how much are they suing for. Is there a number amount?
They didn't put, but it's going to be like a big time millions of dollar lawsuit. They're looking for like all the back pay that they would have earned. So we're talking it could be in the billion.
That's insane. I wonder how that'll go. I mean, good luck, I guess, for MLW. I mean, I'm one of those people that I don't get involved in the politics of the wrestling business. I could have, I'm sure, something to say about WWE, but I thought it was always smarter to keep it positive and
Yep.
just thank the world that they exist and that they provide so many guys that are in their jobs to dance around and do all sorts of stuff that they do on top of the wrestling, because I see a lot of guys in there that are able to get away with wrestling for 10 extra years because they're doing all sorts of other shit, more entertainment stuff, and like I say, a lot of posing and dancing and talking on the microphone and stretching it out so they're not just having to grind it out. I see the
Yep.
AEW guys, and I've never seen Bryan Danielson wrestle so good in his life. He looks unfucking real, tough as nails after the neck injury. For him to come back and wrestle week after week after week, and then go 60 minutes with Hangman Page, and then another 45 minutes or something like that, I got to take my hat off. An absolute fucking machine. And Adam Page, I already knew he was good, but his stock rose with me where I really put him on top of that. Was some of the best wrestling I've ever seen in my life. I don't know if you watched those two
Oh
matches,
yeah. Oh
but those
yeah.
were the best matches I've ever seen back to back in my life. You got to give those guys a fucking huge amount of credit. And the fact that he wasn't able to do that type of match in WWE, I forgot how good he was, because in WWE he looked like he had the handcuffs on him, and he
Yeah.
didn't have that sparkle in his eye, even though he had a huge pop and an unbelievable following with that yes, yes, yes stuff. It was just that when you watched him, it looked like someone had wrote the match for him. And when you have so many agents in the back telling you what to put in your fucking bread, that bread's not your recipe, it's someone else's. And when you're making bread according to what someone else says is good, I understand you have a routine and a recipe to follow because they write the recipe in the back for you and you practice that before you go out there. But I like watching guys freestyle. Imagine a rapper had his lyrics written by somebody else and that was exactly all he could say. And
Yep.
that's kind of how it is. If you go off script, from what I understand, you get in some shit, or you get released, really, because they have an agent deciding kind of what's what on everything, on your comeback, on what moves you're going to do. And it's pretty specific, I think. I don't know if they get too many guys. I'm sure they have a few guys that have free reign to do what they want. But if you deviate too far off the path of what they expected, I'm sure you're hearing about it in the back.
RVD said that same thing. I went to a strip joint with him one night. He happened to be in Boston. So we went up to the Golden Banana.
Oh, God.
And I would actually, the story is he was in Boston. Me and my buddy go into the Banana. And my friend goes, dude, isn't that RVD sitting over there? I was like, yeah. He goes, dude, go over and tell him who you and see if he knows who Tony Rumble is. So I go over. I said, hey, my name's Jason Rumble. I was trained by Walter Killer Kowalski. He's like, Jason Rumble? Do you know Tony Rumble? I go, well, basically, I'm his wrestling son. And he goes, really, buddy? He goes, so do you like to smoke weed like he does? I go, I'd love to. So we just sat dollar bill row. Couple times went outside and smoked, and that was my experience with RVD. But the one thing, because obviously, man, I'm probably 8 years or so in the business, and getting to see him, I asked him, I go, well, what's it like wrestling the style you wrestled in ECW compared to WWE? He goes, wrestling the WWE, I'm basically, he goes, say I had 30 moves in ECW. Now I have 4. And I have to base the 4 around my time slot of what I'm given. He goes, I love the money, but he goes, there was nothing like when I was on ECW or the independent scene, getting to wrestle the way I wanted to wrestle.
Oh yeah, he's a really nice guy. I brought him in. I got to wrestle him in New York. I got to wrestle him in New York, and I could tell he didn't really know me, and I think someone had gotten his ear, so he gave me a very limited RVD.
You're in the net. We'll get him back, ladies and gentlemen. I can hear you, brother.
Hear me? Sorry about that. Okay, so
It's all right.
we match in New York, and then he was, and then so I had Sabu's number, and I called Sabu, and I think Sabu texted him. He's a really good friend of mine, and we've had some great matches, and so he's like, man, I'm sorry we didn't do more. He's like, but I just don't want to risk getting hurt on one of these fucking shows. And I'm like, yeah, totally understand that. I said, but I would have been awesome. I said, because I remember some of the matches he had with Jeff Hardy and WWE, phenomenal. And I was like, man, I wish I had an opportunity to wrestle you when it meant something instead of in front of fucking 300 fans in New York. And not that it matters audience wise, but those guys, you can't force Kevin Nash to want to do a lot. You bring him in and you hope to get a few things. You're not going to force Rob Van Dam to do a bunch of fucking moves and shit that he doesn't want to do, you know? So it was like, but after that, we were always friends, and I brought him to Vegas a few times for our little shows as a guest, and he was really nice to me. And we were, at that time, my probation allowed me to smoke. So I got to smoke with him, talk with him, and we became close friends. He was always a gentleman and super intelligent and a very, very talented individual who told me some stories about having his light smashed out on the back of one of his rental cars and driving after he got the championship belt. And I think he had the belt, maybe both belts or something. And all of a sudden he gets pulled over when caught with weed, and it was fucking derailed his whole thing.
Yep.
You know, he said he always wondered how that happened, or if somebody called the cops and pre-warned him to look for this rental car with this plate. And he said it's just fucked up timing that happened. He goes, he was always suspicious of the behind the scenes stuff that goes on in a cutthroat world, especially in the WWE world. It's dog eat dog, you know. As much as you have friends in there, I think there's always a level of competition that people are you know, looking for anything they can do to hang you, you know, to hang you out to dry. I hope it's a little different now, but I mean, I don't know, and I'm not there, so I can't say directly much, but just what I hear, you know.
So before all this fiasco happened to you, AEW, was it in your radar at that point in time?
I was really happy with MLW, dude, and I was loyal to them, and they were giving me a great push. I had both belts, the light heavyweight and the tag titles, and I'm one of those guys that's all about loyalty. AEW was more a place that I can say that I called that 20 years ago, and I told the Young Bucks that they would create an alternative wrestling league, which is alternative elite wrestling, which is pretty cool, whatever their show is called, you know, and that they would be responsible for creating an opportunity for so many young guys to get a chance to be on TV. And if you look at that promo, it's Teddy Hart, best promo ever, it says, and it's me outside a parking lot after the Young Bucks had one of their first matches with me, a tag match, and then a 6-man tag wrestling for Gary App in fucking California in front of 40 people right after WWE released me the second time for fucking nothing. And it was so depressing to have to go back to the Indies. I got picked up in a car with no clutch, and the clutch was broken, and the guy had to restart his car. Every time he stopped, he had to shut it off, turn it on, shut it off, turn it on. And the other guy in the back's trying to film a fucking promo with me, and you just hear this vroom, 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 and it's like, I got to try to keep my flow and remember what I'm going to say, and not that it took us 6 hours to get from the airport to go. And, you know, but at that time I discovered those guys. They were phenomenal, and they were so cool, and they always remembered me. And when I went to MLW, and then I went to AEW, MLW thought I was there trying to cherry pick, and I think it hurt their feelings. I'm there watching about 20 guys I worked with. I had worked with MJF. I had worked with Luchasaurus. His first seminar was with me. Jungle Boy's first seminar was with me. I had a really good match with Darby Allin and Limitless. MJF, I don't know if he was there full time at that stage. He might have still been doing MLW too, but he's such a fucking workhorse and such a smart, intelligent kid. And I didn't mind, like I say, he was very funny on the mic with me, and he'd shoot real hard. You know, you're a fucking worthless drug addict, drug dealing pimp, fucking criminal, blah, blah, blah. But sure as shit, it's true. But he'd always put me over in the ring. So parents. He took everything. I beat the living fuck out of MJF without hurting him, but I really, I mean, I gave him every move I could, and real stiff and solid. Not hurt, never dangerous, but he never fucking said a word. Big smile at the end of the match, shook my hand, fucking in the back. He always was real. And they let me bring my cat to the ring. Not to the ring, not in the ring, but to the ringside, you know, and they had VIP and they had a security guard go up and get me my drinks and bring my food down. And Tony Khan was nice to me, and Cody Rhodes was nice to me. I was there. I think I was at 2 AEW shows, and I was just happy to be part of Jack Evans getting a job on TV and watching Jungle Boy get an opportunity. And then his poor dad died, and to see how much heart, how much desire, and how much he loved the business, and to see a guy like Luchasaurus, who was just a guy in Los Angeles looking for a break. And then you see him a few years later after working his ass off and being so cool and going to all those little schools and seminars and bodybuilding and working so hard. You see the reward for these guys. And that's the way I live my life, as I watch other people do well. My life's always been pretty good. I was blessed with great parents and a pretty easy lifestyle and a big WWE contract when I was 18 that I was able to invest into medical marijuana in California. And I've lived a pretty wonderful life of eating, you know, at the nicest restaurants in the world and driving some of the nicest cars that you could have for under $300,000. And I've never been, you know, I've never been on the next level where I'm flying in a private fucking jet and I'm driving a fucking $100 million car. I mean, $1 million car, but I've been on the, I'll say the upper echelon of independent wrestling success. And my money always came from the street. You know, I've been a marijuana guy for 25 years, and in the business of being a marijuana guy like you, we're hustlers and grinders, and we make it work. And we've been probably able to at a bunch of nice restaurants and enjoy the luxuries of meeting a lot of girls and having a good set of lungs on us. We can always talk and communicate, and we got a good sense of humor, and we're smart. We're like fucking alley cats. You know, we survive. We'll drink the fucking dirty water, get a little bit fucking good time, you know. So I still remember you had one of the best matches I had. And I thought, this old man, who the fuck's this old guy? And why didn't you do all this shit? And all of a sudden I get in there and this guy eats my fucking lunch and he's there for everything. I'm like, okay, we got like 60 people, half the fucking, I don't know if they're on disability or whatever. They're definitely looking like they're losing. They've lost a few teeth and a few marbles are floating around, but they sure love fucking wrestling and they really appreciated what we did. And it really told me, you know, you're training from Killer Kowalski. If you're trained by the right fucking guy and you got a heart and a set of balls and you're willing to trust the other guy, what kind of magic you can do on a small little show if you really want to put your ass on the line. And I remember you and we fucking killed it. And after that, I had a wonderful level of respect and a new friendship. And I've always considered you one of the nicest, coolest guys, and a very underrated and super talented, magician in the ring, you know. And so I was excited when you called me to do something. I don't do podcasts much, and I don't want to get on and talk about shit. I'm so burnt out, and I've done too many podcasts. But for you, it was like whatever you want, you know, and trying to maneuver through that Facebook. The first time it canceled, if it was anyone else, I'd be like, listen, dude, fucking call me on Messenger, FaceTime me. Those are the only this technology shit. If I can't just tell the fucking phone what to fucking smart these phones, I don't know how they work. I don't want to fucking fuck, but I was happy we made it work and we can have this conversation and, you know, reminisce a bit and tell a few stories. I don't know how many people you have. If you got 50 people, it's 50 more people than I have in my fucking hotel room. So that's better than talking to myself, which is majority of what I get to do.
I have a private community of 127 appreciative wrestling fans.
That's huge.
Right now, I'm streaming live to them. We're streaming live on my Twitch handle and live on my YouTube channel.
Well, I always appreciate being, you know, brought back up and to be relevant and be part of the conversation and to be your friend, you know. That's one of the most important things you have. My grandfather always said it, really savor your meals and enjoy your friends, because that's about all you have in this world is your fucking meals and your friendships at the end of the day.
Absolutely, brother.
You know,
like I said, when I haven't been able to say it to my community, but I've said it to you. When we first met, I felt like, especially after our match, I felt like I had known you for 25 years.
Oh yeah.
I felt like it was like we trained together, and then you went your way, I went my way. All of a sudden, 20 years later, it was just like it was 20 years before.
Yeah, dude, I remember you hooking me up with a fucking ton of vape pens, and I remember right after I picked them up, I got to drive him all the way back. I'm on probation. I got to drive him all the way back to Philadelphia, and I get fucking pulled over right outside Bo's fucking school, and I'm like, oh fuck! I pray to God this doesn't. But because the right thing, and it was weed, and it wasn't other stupid shit. I think karma and God gave the benefit of the doubt, and the guy wasn't there to fucking pull my car apart, and he just said, "Oh, you're in the wrong. You're in the wrong lane, or you did the wrong turn, or something." So he fucking gave me a pass and let me go, and I'm like, "Fuck! If he checked my trunk, I'd be going to jail for a while." I had like 2,000 fucking vape pens or something. I don't know. I mean, it was a nice little load of stuff. Though. I was like, man, thank God that that it was a blessing that I got through it. But I remember thinking like that whenever I know that guys are real and in the game, it's always nice to see that they have a side hustle and that it's weed. I always say I'm not a fan of the other drugs. I think they're
Yep.
bad luck and that they bring karma. They ruin your karma and they fucking bring negative things into your life. So the weed, I think, is a shield and a protector and a way to bring guys together. So I haven't been able to smoke in 2 years, dude. It's been miserable. I smoke the backwoods and I pretend I'm smoking a blunt.
When we first met, everybody was like, "Man, did you get high with?" That was the big thing, getting high with you.
Yes.
And I'm like, "Listen, dude, listen, guys, as you grow up, obviously, I'd say this to everybody, being a professional wrestler, especially like when it comes to me, I didn't have legit family members. It wasn't a postcard wasn't sent to me in the mail to say, "Oh, wow, be a professional wrestler." It was obviously a passion and love I had, and knowing where you came from, knowing how famous you were, the last thing I was gonna do was look like a fucking idiot. Knowing deeply inside, I really do want to just go out back, smoke a fatty with this dude, and just talk wrestling, man.
Yeah.
And you know, the match was a bonus, bro. The match was a bonus. And I'll say this: I may never win to WrestleMania, but when you and I linked up those 2 times, especially in Maine, the way the atmosphere and the crowd was, and the way me and you hit each other back and forth, it felt like I was in front of 50,000, dude.
Those are matches of my life, dude. I'm telling you, like, because there's just a certain energy, and if you have that, there's a cohesiveness with the right guy. If he knows how to dance, you don't have to call a lot of shit. You give an outline of this is what I might do, and you can only do 3 things when you're in that position. One's fucking shut the fuck up, take away the fear, and listen, and go with the move. It's a front bump, back bump, or a head bump, unless it's something else. You specifically called it. It's just follow your opponent. When it's time to bump, it's time to bump. When it's time to feed, it's time to feed. And when it's time to fucking go, it's time to go. And that's that's the rules for me. And that's what gives you that. If you're good, and you're great, you can trust the other guy with your life. And that's the magic of wrestling. You're not trying to hurt the fucker. He's giving you his life. That's why I always say when guys act like they're tough, I'm like, man, a woman pushes out a baby. She's fucking tough. A guy's been to jail for something he didn't do, and he spent 3 years of his fucking life arrested for some shit. That's tough, There's certain things are tough. Guys that get punched in the face in MMA all the time, they're tough. But wrestlers are tough, but it's in a whole nother way because you got to suspend yourself and put yourself between a guy's legs for a fucking pile driver and hope to God that guy doesn't drop you on your head and end your fucking life. Or you're in a wheelchair. Or he doesn't stiff you and knock your teeth out. So, it's one of those, it's a different mentality and understanding the way the business works and what it's all about and trusting the other guy and giving him your life and then having him, take care of it. It builds a bond that no other sport has,
True.
One of those, and you're friends for life after that if you have a good match with a guy. At least I hope that is. At least with me and most of the matches with their guys I could always see on the street, and 10 years later, and they always have a smile on their face and we remember the match we had. I've been blessed to have a lot of really good matches with a lot of people during their years of coming up. And then some of the guys I have are towards the end of their career and they're like, man, that brought me back or it gave me fucking 5 more years. I know I can still go,
I think one of the funniest thing was the 3rd time we hooked up in Canada, and my timing was off on the leapfrog, and you're like, "You fucking asshole!" And I wanted to break out laughing, but it was the best. I had great times.
It sounds like picking up on my end. I don't know if yours is staticky on your end or not. But
Yeah, it's staticky coming back through me. You just might have a shitty signal that goes in and out. That's all.
yeah, I don't know if there's anything I can do to change that.
Yeah. I'll tell you this: I've had a couple of my Facebook people that made comments, and the brunt of the comments have been, "He sounds just like Brett."
Oh yeah, a lot of people say I sound like Brett, so I guess that's a good thing.
Without a doubt. Without a doubt. So I gotta ask, what would you consider would be one of the worst promoters you've ever worked for in your whole life?
One more time.
What was the worst promotion or promoter you ever worked for in your whole life?
That shit in Maine was pretty fucking weak. I hate to say it. That stuff we did, that was right up there with it.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I mean, it depends. I mean, I've worked for almost every shitty promotion and shitty promoter in fucking the United States and Canada. So
That's a fair thing to say. Has a promoter ever said they're gonna pick you up and just leave you high and dry?
Mexico, almost every fucking show, you'd have to find your way.
Oops. Well, I apologize. So I'm hoping the Teddy Hart will come back in the studio. I'm just gonna say he had a little bit of technical difficulties. I'm just gonna mute my microphone for a minute. Hopefully Teddy's coming back on. We've had a little bit of technical difficulties. Jeff. Jefferson James. Yes, my son does now have glasses like us all. It's because he watches too many tablets in front of his eyeballs. But we'll wait a couple of minutes. My eyesight is giving out too, Holmes. Buddy, mine gets worse day by day. I believe I have that I'm going to be legally blind in the next 10 years. That's what my eye doctor said. I'm on the beginning of cataract. Well, I think I'm going to give it a couple minutes. And this might be a wrap, but that was an interesting take for the 45 minutes or so that we had Teddy on. Friggin' hell, bud. Well, let's hope that doesn't happen. Well, I'm hoping, but you can't avoid the inevitable, as they say. So So, anyways, uh, yeah, I want to thank Teddy Hart for coming on tonight. I want to apologize to the people out there that, we're hoping to hear more. I can get Teddy back on, and I will get him back on. So, we'll get him back on soon. For those idiots out there, and we're like, wow, how did he get a guy like that of that magnitude on? I got connections. For those of you who think that I'm going to be canceled because I brought Teddy Hart on, it's just like a news reporter bringing a person on. I gave you the hard-hitting reporting that others didn't want to give. So, with that being said, thank you for tuning in. Being Humble with Jason Rumble. I want to thank my guest, Teddy Hart. Hope to have him back on again. Good night, everyone.